Welcome to 5 upcoming technologies that I think could change the entire smartphone landscape. Number 5 is invisible cameras. Cameras that sit below the screen on your phone, and there's the obvious advantage of no notch, no hole punch, just pure uninterrupted screen. But there's also a subtler perk. If you think about it, with an invisible camera, you don't need to put it right at the top of your phone, where the cameras usually are. You could put it closer to the middle, which would solve the age-old problem of where do I look? How many times have you been taking a selfie or having a video call with someone, and you realize that instead of actually looking at the camera, you've just been looking at yourself in the screen? Well, if that camera is in the middle of the screen, then you can effectively be doing both at the same time. Oh yeah, and a massive thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Mobile cloud computing. And what got me thinking about this is Google's new Stadia platform. For those of you who don't know, Stadia allows you to play PC quality games without a PC, using game streaming. And it has an important implication for the smartphone. So, the way the current gaming market works is each customer buys a box. It could be a PC, it could be a PlayStation 4, and this box contains all the power needed to run the game, and so you install something on it and play. But Google sees the future as something very different. A batch of centralized supercomputers that are actually running the game, and then users will just be able to tap into that and stream that content onto their screens. Because all that processing is being done on Google's end, you can play games on not just your TV but your smartphone, even theoretically your watch if you wanted to. And there's a similar trend happening with phones. It's already started. At the very beginning, let's say with the original iPhone, your software experience was almost completely powered by the components that sat inside your device. But as the smartphone is becoming more connected, more and more of that processing is becoming offloaded, and the benefits are broader than just gaming. For example, Google's Lens uses the cloud to compute what your smartphone is seeing. Your phone is actually reaching into Google's entire knowledge base and using it to understand the world around you. And the point I'm making here is that this reliance on the cloud is about to go up, and that means the actual intelligence of your smartphone will skyrocket because it's going to be less and less limited by the actual hardware inside of it. Also, the spin-off effect of this power becoming ever more available is that you might start to see more people opt for wearables instead of smartphones, as opposed to something they have alongside them. If the computing is done in the cloud, then every device, be it a watch or even a necklace, can have the same access to this power, and that's an interesting future. Alright, innovation number 3 is the solid-state battery. Current smartphones use lithium-ion technology. And to put it simply, these batteries have 2 poles, an anode and a cathode, surrounded by a liquid. Lithium ions are released from the anode, they travel through this liquid to the cathode, and this is what releases energy. But this liquid has a couple of problems. For starters, it's flammable, hence we see stuff like this, and this. Plus, over time, you get these solid structures called dendrites forming in it, which makes it harder for the lithium ions to flow. So after repeated cycles, these batteries can deliver less and less energy. This is the reason why your 2-year-old smartphone can barely make it through the day without a charge. Solid-state batteries have basically the same structure, but replace the liquid inside for a solid, so straight away no dendrites. So products that use a solid-state battery, they'll be able to retain their charge over longer periods of time. They should have a usable lifespan of 10 years compared to just 2 to 3 years for a lithium-ion product. Plus, because a solid can potentially be more stable than the liquid that's currently in these batteries, solid-state cells can work in much more extreme temperatures. This is important. It means that when you're charging your phone, you can pump in a lot more power without causing damage, so charging speeds could double or triple instantly. Plus, the heat dissipation systems that companies invest in, they're no longer as important, so they could almost be reduced, leaving room for an even bigger battery. This, though, is a little more relevant to electric cars, which currently have massive power-sucking cooling systems. The most noticeable improvement for smartphones will be energy density. A solid-state battery, the same size as a lithium-ion one, could deliver anywhere from 2 to 5 times as much energy. We're talking smartphones that could last 8 to 10 days on a charge. Without getting too complex, having a solid instead of a liquid means we can swap the material in the anode and make it much slimmer. A slimmer anode means a slimmer battery with the same capacity. Number 2 is materials. I can't wait for the day when I feel comfortable using my smartphone without a case, and I don't think it's going to be long. Glass, for starters, is getting stronger. These new iPhones, they're nearly there when it comes to drop resistance, to the point where you could let them fall from pocket height and you might even get away without a mark, and in a worst case scenario, still probably no serious damage. You've also got Samsung, who's working on a practically indestructible flexible OLED display, which in testing was dropped 26 times successively with zero damage. And the other thing, which currently has me reaching for a case, is the slippery nature of most smartphones. But to combat this, I think Google nailed it with the Pixel 4. A matte finish on not just the back, but also the sides means you don't feel like you're just one wrong hand movement away from owning a pile of deconstructed smartphone parts. They even solved the fingerprint problem with this surface. The phone itself is definitely flawed, but I do want to see more of these materials moving forward. And number one, the thing that gets me the most excited for future smartphones is extreme computational photography. Smartphones have been using computational photography since the beginning. It refers to the combination of optics, what the camera sees, and the processing that your phone does with this information. But where it's reached now and where it's about to go are incredibly exciting. So already, smartphones can capture high dynamic range images, which use software to expose both bright and dark areas evenly. Phones can capture thousands of stars in the night sky, more than your eye can see. They can take portrait mode photos, simulating having a large DSLR sensor. And as smartphones become more powerful and more connected, these features can be almost leveled up. For example, night mode on phones works by taking many raw images and stacking them on top of each other to bring out the light, and that's why it takes so long to capture and why it works far better on a tripod. With more processing power, there won't be a delay, there'll be no need for a tripod. Taking an astrophotography shot of the sky will be as simple as grabbing your phone and pointing it upwards. Or for portrait mode photos. Let's say you've got a phone that can capture and process a really good DSLR-like portrait mode photo in 0.5 seconds. So it can do 2 per second. Let's say then, over the next 10 years, smartphones become 15 times more powerful, which is not unreasonable. Then, all of a sudden, you can take 30 of these shots per second, and you've got proper portrait mode video. That, alongside rapidly improving lenses and sensors, means I don't actually think it'll be long before the smartphone becomes a professional filmmaking tool. Not to mention, there's going to be a whole load of camera features that we never even saw coming. Surfshark VPN is pretty crazy value. Take a listen to this. You pay $1.99 a month, and that gives you unlimited simultaneous connections. You probably already know that VPNs can keep your browsing secure, especially on public connections, and also help you get around internet censorship in certain regions, like China, but Surfshark does a lot more than that. As well as being able to connect to single locations, it allows you to multi-hop, or encrypt your data through 2 different servers at the same time. Surfshark can also scan online databases to make sure your emails and your passwords haven't been leaked, and it lets you use something called Blind Search, an internet search tool with no logs, no tracking, and no ads. I would say 2 of the coolest things here are the built-in ad blocker, which lets you load pages quicker whilst using less of your data, and the ability to access 15 different Netflix libraries from around the world. So, check the link in the description and use code BOSS to get an 83% discount. Plus, if you join during the Black Friday campaign, there's another 3 months free on top of that. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.